Hey, welcome to Neversink Farm, and today is microgreens. So I'm going to do a few in front of you and show them how we do them here at Neversink Farm. And this system can be ramped up to hundreds a week if you want, or just a few a week. And we keep it very, very simple. All right, so I'm going to just go through the steps slowly. These are paper pot stack and nest trays, okay? And that just means that they stack and they nest. That would be the nest, okay? And then that would be the stack, okay? Okay, and I'm gonna show you how I use each of that type of thing as I go through it. It doesn't mean you have to use these. You can make microgreens in, you know, a paper plate. Right? It doesn't matter. You can make microgreens in anything. But when you're doing it on a farm scale and you're selling them, you kind of want things to be easy and standard and quick. Okay, so all we do is we take, well, actually, gotta do it like I tell people to do it, which is I use 2 of these. Just make sure we don't overuse soil or underuse soil, okay? This is just a 4x4 pot. I don't know how many cups is in here. Maybe I'll write it under the video if I can go find out. But we found that 2 of these is the right amount of soil where we're not wasting it, but it's gonna create nice microgreens and the whole bottom's gonna get covered, okay? And I don't really get to. And then the important thing is you need them pressed. That kind of evens out the soil. And I found the best way to do that is just with your stack and nest trays because they nest. Wonderful, right? Okay. So then what I do is I'm going to do it again. I just 1, 2, lay them out. And obviously when I'm doing 100 of these, I'm going super fast. Okay. And I grab another and I nest. Okay. And you don't really need to push them down. I mean, the weight, because we're gonna make, 50 of these at once and the weight's gonna do it. So I'm kind of doing it for you to press them down, right? But you're always thinking like, how do I ramp this up when I'm doing, 100, right? There we go, right? I'd be going chung, 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 grabbing this. Make sure it's over right next to it, But right now we're making videos, so I don't need to be throwing soil all over the place. Okay. 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 And I'm going to show you what the nesting does, right? So like, you see how that's nice and flat? Looks great, right? That's what you want. You want it nice and flat. Okay, and now, I know some people can germinate them that way, like you just keep them stacked, okay? But you just can't lift them up before they get well germinated and they start pushing the trays up because you're gonna have all the seeds sticking to the bottom and stuff like that, right? So when you're germinating them, right, your other choice is you stack them, you see? Then you get a little bit of area in between them, right? But it will also keep the moisture in, okay? So it just depends on how you're germinating them. And there's a few ways to do that, right? Stacked, either nested, stacked, or stacked. In a germ chamber, right? But if you're doing hundreds of them, germ chamber is just not going to be so efficient because, you know, you're limiting how many you can put in there. But that's going to give you your quickest germination and your guaranteed germination. But we'll touch on that again once we get these things seeded. Okay. So now when you're seeding them, you know, I always recommend a drop seeder. Shit, I got some soil on here. Because it's going to give you even seeding every time, right? When we first started doing microgreens, we would use volume, right? So we would use like a measuring cup, right? And then put it into, you know, put it into like a deli container, right? And then we would use the deli container or like a cup and do that. Not only is it slow, it's never quite exact, and everybody who does it's going to do it a little differently. And when you put, you know, the seeds too close, you can get disease just from mold and stuff because they're so close together. And microgreens are really easy to do correctly, but really easy to do incorrectly. You know, there's that tipping point between the two. And having a drop seeder is that thing that helps you tip towards making it so that you're doing it correctly every time. Because you don't have to measure the seed, it's automatically measuring. You don't have to space the seeds because it's automatically spacing them. And it also ramps up your speed, right? You can be doing them really, really quickly. Now, you can either use a stand or not a stand. You know, that's kind of up to you on how you want to do it. I wouldn't say that one's faster than the other. One just maybe more comfortable than the other. But let me get the seeds in here. So I'm going to do the radish first. Okay. So this is I think it's called Hong Vite. It's just a nice color leaf radish that looks good in a mix. Tastes great too. I love the stuff. And there's a seeding holding area, which will help seeds from spilling straight out onto your top plate. My top plate is sized so that I get multiple seeds. It's going to be about 5 seeds per hole, which is what I like for my layout and density. And if you feel yours is too thick, you can always change the hole size, right? Because seeds change over time. Maybe these radish seeds are a little smaller at some point. Then you're getting too many in an area. And so you just change out your plate, okay? But what you want to do is make sure you're not pushing in the top plate when you do this because that'll open up the holes, okay? And then you just slide it across the plate, okay? Okay, and you can actually see that they're all filled. And that's what you're looking for, that they all have them in there. And you're going to get better and better and better at it, okay? As long as everything's dry and nice, you'll see that these will drop nicely through there, okay? Just like that. And if you see that some haven't, you just give it a tap, okay? Okay? And it takes a second to tap. But they're holes, right? So like 2 seeds can get in there, odd shaped, and they'll just be kind of pushing themselves like a camming device against the sides, right? And a small little tap's gonna send them on their way, okay? It's no big deal. But look, you see how that's perfectly even, okay? And if you wanted to double up, you do 2, okay? See, I just bring it once and twice across, and I go, and I'm done, okay? Now we'll see 2. So you're not just doing the volume of the hole, you can do double, right? You can do triple if you want. If you really like a lot in there, however you want to do it, you don't have to just keep sizing up the hole, right? So for this, we use two passes on this is a large plate, which is large height, and a 6mm hole. And just to show you, this is, okay, so, yeah. That's the tray. That's the same, right, but this isn't fully grown yet. There's going to be a few more days, right, 2-3 more days, until it's ready to cut. And this will be nice and dense and, you know, give a couple of pounds of microgreens. And yeah, for us, they maybe earn like $30, $40 a tray, gross. Right, so you just want to size it the way you want it. But I do recommend using this size tray, this height tray. They're just much easier to cut, which we use a gardenia electric grass shears for that job. Just find it to be the quickest. Okay, so I'm going to put that here. I'm going to do another one. Okay. That's the whole thing. Okay. Now what you want to do is I stack them, but you can nest them too if you're willing to let them sit until they germinate so they don't stick on each other. You know, it's really up to you. But I'm putting them in the germ chamber. We do a lot less microgreens this time, right? Microgreens we find for our market gets big in the winter, and then as the spring comes, they kind of, as they get replaced with other stuff, they kind of start dying out until we just keep them for the diehards. But we just don't sell as many in the summer. People aren't as interested in them. Yeah, and a good tip is, like, I just want to do one more tray, so I didn't put as much seed on there. But just so you know, when you're doing it, and you're doing a lot of trays, when you're doing microgreens, the more you have on there, the better it works, right? Because when you have less, sometimes you're not getting the edge holes, right? But the more seeds you have on there, the more likely you're going to be able to get all the holes, right? And I was being lazy and being like, well, I'm not going to do more trays, so I don't need as many seeds. But you see how that kind of holds? Okay? Okay. Oops. There you go. Right? But that's all you do. And like, I kind of get used to just, right, as I'm doing it, right, is I'll go and then I just kind of go like that. I don't even look if they're stuck. I do it anyway. It's just the nature of multiple seeds in a cell. Okay, so let's stack these. Okay, and I'm going to save these other two. I'm going to show you another type of seed. Okay. And luckily I keep my microgreens in a big tub. Right? But if you're doing a small one, then you want to use like a little dish if you're using it in, you know, a small little seed container or an envelope. Okay? When I switch out from two different types of seeds, it's a good opportunity to make sure everything's good again. Right? Normally it wouldn't be a few trays, it would be, you know, 100 trays, but. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this one, okay, so this is just a mix. Okay, it's got a lot of kale, things like that. Then it has just some stuff for color. Just to look nice as a mix. And we just choose things that germinate easily, sort of grow at the same rate. Because when you're making a mix and one thing takes 5 days to grow and another takes 10, problem, right? Okay. Okay, so this is the exact same thing, except this is only one pass on this for us. We find that, you know, this mix, the size of the seeds, that one pass on the seeder is enough, okay? But it's the same idea. We're just sliding across the plate, right? You know, some of these seeds are a little flat, right? Okay, tap, done. Let's just take a look at it. You can see how nice and even it is across the top. Right? Okay, I'm going to do one more. One tip is, you know, when I just by habit, I'm always holding the top plate. And I'm holding it this direction. Right? It's just habit. Because I don't want to grab it and be pushing the plate in so that the holes are lined up while I'm shaking it, right? Because that's going to have seeds just dumping out the whole time. It's one of the reasons we have this seed holding area is because when you're actually opening it, if it didn't have that, the seeds would start rolling out, right? As you're doing it, especially if you don't have a stand. And putting more seeds in than you want. So it's a good tip to keep that thing not engaged, okay? And then I do it. Usually with this side, they don't catch, there's no tapping, okay? You can see, nice and even. It's hard to see because these things don't roll as much, but you still got, you know, the white seeds. But in terms of volume of seed, it's even all over. Okay, and there we go. So I'm going to put those seeds away. Okay. And a little tip for your prop house is you never want this stuff to get back in your soil. Okay. So we always clean things to the floor. Right? And what that means is, right, we don't sweep this back in here, right, when we've been seeding. This goes onto the floor, okay? Because you see it's full of seeds. Because you can imagine what happens if someone, you don't tell them, is sweeping it back into the thing. Right, all of your your starts are going to have microgreen seeds everywhere. Okay. And then I go through here. Right. This is just good practice, you know, especially when you're using tiny seed, to make sure everything's cleaned out. Put back up on the shelf, right, where it's going to stay dry and going to stay away from the seeds. And then you want to make sure if there's anything in there, you get it out, right? And get it back up there, ready for next time, okay? Okay, so let's move on to watering these things, okay? A few different ways to do it. right? Some people lay them out on the table, you know, like this, like this, like this, and then use a faucet nozzle, which is this, okay? Okay, it's not something we sell, it's just a, they come in different gallons per minute, I don't know. But this way the seeds aren't moving when you hit them, right? So when you're watering them, they're not going to be moving all over the place. You don't want to use like a regular watering wand, okay? The other way is to do it is to just water the whole tray at once, the whole stack, and just keep watering until they all come through, until they're coming through the bottom. Because the initial watering is very important, okay? Especially if you're going to keep them stacked, because you know you don't want them to dry out, because it's just like germinating any other seed. Once they dry out, it's no good. The other way you can do it is you can use a watering table, okay? Okay. Okay, and so what you can do is as you're seeding them, if you have a partner with you, right, it's just bringing them over to the watering table and putting on the timer. Okay, so this is set for 5 minutes. Okay, this is one of the irrigation controllers we sell, and all it is that it's off, meaning it's not actually going to be watering every day. The only thing that's set is the amount of time, so that when I hit manual, okay, it'll go on for 5 minutes. Okay, and that's enough to make sure that those trays, because I don't want to be standing there for 5 minutes watering them. We want to move on to other stuff, right? We have other things to seed, other things to do. So we size the watering table for whatever we can seed in 5 minutes, right? So we can do about 10 trays in 5 minutes. Well, probably not, but these will be done and in the germ chamber before we're with the next batch. But we know that each one is watered perfectly. Because I find when people are doing this, like, you know, employees, they will water the first trays really nice, but by the time you get to tray 100, they're probably not watered the same as tray 1. But the timer, his first tray is the same as his last tray, which is really nice. And you know that you don't have, because the whole thing about doing microgreens the same every time is to make sure you're successful every time, right? So we use the same amount of soil, we use the same amount of seed because of the drop seeder, we use the same amount of water to water them. So then you know that every single time it'll be the same. So if you're successful the first time, you'll be successful on the 100th time. All right, so we're not going to stand here for 5 minutes and watch it, but you can imagine what's going to happen. Now what I do, okay, is I put them in the germ chamber, okay? So I'm going to put them on an empty shelf, and it opens on both sides, so the watering table is on the other side of the germ chamber, and then they get put in, and then this side we go to put them on the table. And we just do that to get perfect germination. Just to keep, just like what I was just mentioning, is that it's the same every time. That the germ chamber is not going to be different, right? It's set to a certain temperature, it's got the shade curtains, so it's not worried about light coming in to heat it up. Yeah, so that's how we do it. You know, maybe we'll do a harvesting video soon for the microgreens, but that's your basic setup for getting the trays filled, seeded, watered, germinated. And once they're germinated, they go out on the table. Now they're safe. There's really nothing that can happen to them except not watering them daily, but all of these irrigation is set up to water every single day. I hope that's helpful. I hope that you'll, if you haven't tried microgreens, you're gonna, and if you are doing microgreens, hopefully this helps you be more successful, faster at it, more efficient, and improves the farm. All right, so until next time, thanks for watching.